Taking a walk by the beach right now with sunsets. I'm waiting for June to go eat later. But while we do that, I'll go live and just talk about life. As the beautiful 2026 is now here, if you have any questions relating to sales or life, drop it in the chat. And if it's a good question, I will answer it. Okay. I'm like so onk with these things, so millennial. I don't know how this thing works. I don't know if I'm in the right angle or if I have to do this. Do I have to do this? No, never mind. 아이고야. It's a beautiful life. So this place, I'm in Dubai right now. I'm always in Dubai. But I drove 20 minutes. I took a day off today. Crazy, I know. Did some boxing in the morning. Knocked myself out. Had a burger. And now I just decided to randomly just come here and just take a walk. That's a big key lesson from last year in 2025, by the way. I'll be having 2 videos coming out. My biggest top lessons from 2025 and what I learned. 2025 was an interesting year. I tripled my income from the year before. And it's the most amount of money I've made in my life. And I've had my highest highs. I also had some of the lowest lows, which has been interesting. But one of the big lessons I learned from 2025 is get away from time to time. That's a big lesson I learned. Now, for most people, they should work more because most people just don't work enough. But if you're a high achiever like me, like yourself, watching this, and you find yourself, you feel like you're working like 12, 14, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, grinding it away. But it just seems like life's just not moving forward. There's different things for that, right? Number one is you may be just working on the wrong things. That's a problem. Number two, you're doing the right things. You're just doing it ineffectively or inefficiently. That's another problem. But from time to time, what I realize is, number one, having a hard stop, right? So instead of having a calendar, if you're a sales guy watching this, instead of having a calendar open all day from 8 a.m. to like 9 p.m., that's not an effective way, right? Now, don't get me wrong, there's time and place for that. If you're trying to break some like records and see how much you can push yourself, then yeah, fair enough. But it's not a sustainable thing, right? It's not really a lifestyle. And the biggest thing we got to realize, a lot of reasons why sales reps burn out or people in general burn out in what they do is because they don't understand seasons. If you have a question, by the way, drop it in the comments. I don't even know if I can see the fucking chat bar from this thing. Whatever. Is anybody here? I don't even fucking know. I'll keep talking because I'm working for myself anyway. So yeah, if you have a question, just drop it in the chat. If you're sales related, life related question, I'm just taking a walk right now by the beach. It is sunset time. Okay, I think there's some questions here. We'll answer them. I don't think I had the chat function open. Maybe that's why you guys couldn't ask a question. I don't know. But yeah, what I was saying was that have a hard stop. This year, I'm gonna really hard implement that, having a hard stop, meaning that after a certain time of the day, I'm not allowed to work anymore. Because there's something called the Parkinson's effect, right? So I talked about this on my New Year's Eve live. By the way, I just realized you can see Burj Khalifa from here. Can you guys? I need to get over here, right here. That's Burj Khalifa. It looks smaller on the screen for you guys, but Burj Khalifa right there, world's tallest building. So Parkinson's effect essentially is human beings take as much time to complete a task as long as the time we think we have. And so in this regard, if you think that you have 13 hours a day to work, then you're just not going to be as efficient and effectively as you could be if in your mind you knew that you only had 8 hours today to actually get the things you got to do in terms of banging out 2 sales a day or whatever your non-negotiable is. That's another thing, key thing too, we implement inside a real sales system with our members is having non-negotiables. Meaning, no matter what, these things happen. Either 2 deals close a day or X amount of dials per day. No matter what, that happens. That's the standard. That is a non-negotiable. And if you have that, it's just going to be more difficult for you to not hit your goal, right? But this year, what I've been implementing is having a hard stop after a certain time to stop working. Even if every cell, every muscle fiber in my being is twitching, it's like, no, dude, I gotta keep working. I stop working, and I'm gonna test that and see how that goes. Because during that time, now my brain's gonna be focused. Like, okay, like I gotta figure out a way to only work on the things that's gonna be the most efficient and effective for me to hit my goal. And then I just gotta figure shit out. Oh man, the sunset is fucking beautiful. I don't know if you can see that with the reflection on the fucking camera, but the sunset, I don't know, something about sunset is so fucking beautiful. I don't know, it's maybe because just like the New Year's Eve fireworks, right? Just like life, it is finite. It is finite. There's only sunset once a day, only one time a day, right? Out of 24 hours a day, just once happens once a day, and it lasts for maybe, I don't know, maybe 1 hour, golden hour, 2 hours maybe, and that's it. Isn't that crazy? So what is that? It's like 2 out of 24, 1/12. So less than 10% of the day, the sunset occurs. And so I remember telling myself when I was getting into sales, right? Or when I was trying to make more money in general, I told myself, man, I'm gonna live in an apartment or just live somewhere where I can see the sunset every fucking day. And that was my goal. Because before, I didn't have that. Like the apartment I was in, it was like there was like no window essentially. It's like, man, I really want to see the sunset. And now we see the sunset. And then it's funny because I live downtown, so it's like a city, right? One of the biggest cities in the world. And then I drive about 20 minutes and I just get to the beach. There's different beaches throughout Dubai, which is very beautiful. That's another thing too about lifestyle design. If you haven't done that, I highly encourage, almost force you to map out your vision board for 2026. So a vision board, in the beginning I was a bit against it. I was like, yeah, that sounds a bit too rah-rah, cliche, whatever, too personal development-y. I was like, but almost every single thing I put on the vision board has come true. It's fucking hilarious. When I said I'm gonna make 10K a month, I ended up making 10K a month. I said I'm gonna make 20K a month. I ended up making 20K a month, right? I said I was gonna move into this dream apartment. I ended up making that happen. I said I'm gonna move to Dubai. I did that, right? And then I also depicted out the ideal woman I wanna be physically and interpersonally. I mapped it out, and then that happened, right? So, and then I mapped out what kind of friends I wanna have in my life. And then that ended up becoming true. Because it's almost like, there's one course I took in the beginning when I was trying to make money online. And then that course used the term see, believe, achieve. Right? See, SBA, see, believe, achieve. So you first gotta see the ideal life you want to have. It's not just about making 10K a month, 20K a month. None of us here gives a fuck about making 10K, 20K a month. It's what the money and the freedom allows us to have, right? We're all in sales. We understand that point. So why are we not taking that as seriously for our own life, right? So we first got to be able to see, and so a vision board visually depict it out. And you got to believe that you can do it. You may not be able to do it right now with your current skill set, your current network, your current resources, but you got to believe that, okay, given the right help, I can figure it out. I'm not arrogant enough to think that I can do it on my own, right? That'd be dumb, because otherwise you would have done it by now. You know what I'm saying? But believing yourself that, you know what, given the right help, I believe in my work ethic and my intelligence to figure it out. Because if you're watching this, you're not one of those like victims. You're not one of those princesses. You're a hard worker. You're a high achiever. That's why on a fucking Sunday, you're tuning into this. We're gonna go through some questions as people have dropped it here. Okay, hey Brian, I've been religiously studying your decision tree. Thank you for all the info. You're welcome. Do you think I should just quit my full-time job to risk it all and make high-ticket sales work? I've been doing gym membership for 3 years. It's actually a good question. It's asked by That's Dean. That's Dean, okay. Depending, this is not a cookie-cutter answer. If I just give a yes or no right now, this would be an inaccurate answer and statement, because I don't know your life as much as you do. And I don't know your risk tolerance. I don't know your current skill level. I don't know your current network in order for you to like get on a high ticket sales role, like how quickly that's gonna, I don't know these factors. So I cannot give you a blanket statements. I can just give you if so, if this, then kind of scenarios, okay? So if you have a bit of a runway, but okay, generally speaking, I would not recommend it. Let's start there. Generally speaking, I would not recommend most people quitting their current sales job right away to get into high ticket sales. The reason why is because there's unknown variables. We gotta understand, whenever we're doing something new, like getting into a different industry like high ticket sales, there are unknown variables. How long is it gonna take for me to land the role? How long is it gonna take for me to start generating sales? And how much commissions am I gonna make? We don't really know that, right? I mean, we can kind of estimate, we can make projections, but it's a bit of a transition that if we just quit cold turkey your current source of income, it's a bit difficult. Now, if you're in a unique position where you have a lot of cash saved up, and you're one of those people where you have very high stress and risk tolerance, meaning that, you know what, I'm just going balls to the walls, I just work better that way, and I have enough cash saved up, and I believe in my ability to, I'm good at sales, and I know how I'm going to land the role. Right? I already got a role lined up, and I know that's a really good role, with like data backed up. That maybe it may make sense, but for most people, I would not recommend it. For most people, I would not recommend it. Yeah. Otherwise, you can get just too anxious, man. You know, you can get too anxious going into high ticket sales. It's like you need to make the sales work, otherwise you're fucked. Right? For most people, I would not recommend getting in a situation where this needs to work, otherwise you're fucked. For most people. Listen, like there's a very select few people, and some people think they're that person, but in reality they're not. Like they just crumble under pressure. They crumble under stress and anxious. And on sales calls, they cannot perform that well. So that's why most scenarios. There's actually a video on my channel for you and other people watching this too. After this live, you can check it out. It's on my channel. It's one of the recent videos. It'll be titled something like how to transition from your in-person sales job to high ticket sales. There'll be a video. It's broken down how to manage your calendar, how to structure your day, okay? And how to go about actually making this smooth transition. That's what I recommend. Whenever we have a student coming from like car sales, door-to-door sales, corporate sales, we just have them follow the framework. And it tends to work out well. Yeah. So there we go. Let's see if there's other questions. Okay. How to pull up the consequence questions right after solution awareness, so it sounds natural in conversation, not salesy and out of nowhere. Having a hard time with, yeah, so quite a bit of sales reps struggle with the consequence question. So consequence question, if you don't know what we're referring to, is basically at some point of the sales call, you ask the prospect, hey, so what happens if? What happens if the problem continues? Or what happens if you never get the results that you want? It says, you're not gonna literally ask what happens if you don't solve the problem because it sounds too generic, it sounds too robotic, right? But you're just plugging in for whatever you sell. So as an example, a common example would be, let's say if you sold a biz op, right? And if you sold, like, let's guess, 9 to 5 person, they have a job, they're an accountant, and they're trying to get into trading, make more money, have more time, so on and so forth, right? And let's say they told that the problem was, oh man, I've been paycheck to paycheck, I've been stressed out, and I haven't been able to take my family out on vacation, right? And so the consequence question, some people just feel weird asking it because number one, they don't know what they're supposed to do there, and number two, yeah, so that's basically right? So basically how you would ask that question in that regard is like, okay, so what happens if you don't do anything about this? You keep being stressed out and you never be the provider that you want to be for your family. What happens then? Right? Now, when I ask it that way, did that sound weird to you? Right? Probably not. At least I didn't feel weird asking it. And these days, so in the beginning, I get where you're coming from. This is asked by Batman Hood. In the beginning of my career, I did feel weird because I didn't know like what I was trying to get out of that question, right? And so a lot of times sales reps, they hear something from a video, right? Whether on YouTube or Instagram, or maybe from like a paid course they took. And like maybe they learn like a objection handling reframe or like these questions and they feel awkward asking it because they don't know what they're supposed to do there, right? The whole point of what you're trying to do there is human beings don't take serious action unless there's a physical urgent consequence attached to not taking action. That's the whole point, right? So how many fat people do you know where they're fat and then they know they need to go to the gym, but they never go to the fucking gym, right? Pretty much every fucking fat person. Until something drastic happens. As an example, they feel like this heartache and they go to the doctor and the doctor's like, hey, you have one more donut, you're gonna have a fucking heart attack, you're gonna die. So go do something. That's when they see, at least we'd hope, that they see the seriousness and the ramifications of, oh my God, this is actually like really fucking bad. Let me go to the gym, right? Now, ideally, that's the whole point, right? It doesn't matter if we sell a weight loss offer or not. You get the whole point. The whole point of what we're trying to do there is help the prospects see what's gonna happen as a consequence if they don't do anything about this, like they have not been, right? And so if it's coming from a place of like, dude, I'm trying to help you out here, right? You may not see it now. And if I say what's gonna happen to you, you're not gonna take it seriously because I'm saying it, I'm a sales guy, I'm biased, right? So I'm gonna ask you this question so you come to your own fucking conclusion how bad things are gonna get, right? Or how you're never gonna get the thing that you want. And that needs to be bigger, that consequence of not doing anything needs to be bigger than them having fear and excuses at the end of the sales call after you told them how much the thing costs, okay? So I wish I could draw a diagram, right? So imagine like a scale, right? On one end, there's the fear of the consequence, right? Meaning that things are gonna get worse, they're gonna keep feeling stressed out, and then their parents are gonna get older and they're never gonna retire, they're gonna keep working at Walmart. That's on one end, right? How scary that is. On the other end, there is how scary them paying $10,000 and then maybe the program doesn't work out, right? The fear of the consequences to heavily outweigh the fear of them wanting to make a change. Otherwise, they're gonna give a fuck ton of fucking objections, right? They're gonna be like, oh no, I don't know if this is gonna work. I never make decisions like this. I gotta talk to my wife. Oh guys, I gotta talk to my wife. I need to think of it. They're gonna do that, right? So, I'm not making fun of prospects. I'm making fun of you guys. I'm making fun of some of you motherfuckers because as a sales rep, it's the most ironic thing ever. When a sales rep hates getting these objections from the prospects, but they're the ones giving it to themselves for their goals. It is a fucking joke. Anyways, but I hope that makes sense. The whole point is, and also another reason why it was awkward for me when I was asking that question is, I was sounding too much. I was trying too much to sound like someone who I'm not. So what I mean by that is, like I learned that question from somebody that we may all know. I'm not gonna name that person just for privacy's sake. And then I try to talk too much like them, but the reality is that person was in their 40s or 50s, but I'm in my 20s, right? And then they talk in a very different way that I talk. And so me trying to sound like them, it just felt awkward, right? It's like, so what happens if you don't do anything about this, right? And nothing wrong with that. I'm not making fun of that at all because however that person is doing it, it's working phenomenally for them and for certain people. It's just for me, I just don't talk like this. So I felt weird, the prospect felt weird, there's like a whole thing, right? So you're gonna be like, what? Like what? That's not gonna happen, right? Because once I realized, okay, let me take the principles of why that question works and let me just tailor that for how I speak and my personality, right? So that's when I was like, so the principle behind it is like, you're supposed to pause, right? So what happens if you don't do anything about this? Because when you pause, it gives the prospect more time to internalize and process the question. So you get a deeper answer. If you ask it too fast, like, so what happens if you don't do anything about this? It gives them no time to process the question, so you're gonna get like a surface answer. Oh, it's not gonna be that good. It's not gonna be that bad. And also, if you ask it too monotone, like, okay, so what happens if you don't do anything about this and you keep being stressed out? And it's gonna have zero impact on the prospect because it's like a monotone, right? So it doesn't register in their brain. So you gotta come off a bit concerned and a bit challenging, right? Okay, so what happens if you don't do anything about this? You keep feeling stressed out and you don't become the provider you need to be for your family. What happens then? You see? So you see how I took the principles of like pausing here and there, coming off concerned, plugging in their specific fear and their problem. Not the like, hey, what happens if we don't get mentorship? No, that's like surface area shit. Nobody gives a fuck, right? But the more deeper emotional driver of that specific person. In this specific example, them keep feeling stressed out because of the money and them never being the provider they want to be for their family, right? So this is a key thing that we talk about inside a real sales system as well. Of we help you tailor these questions for your specific offer, but also more importantly, your specific best personality. Because everybody's personality is a bit unique. The way each person speaks is a bit unique, you know. And so we just help you bring out the best traits about your personality, the best traits about how you speak, tailor that for the prospects you speak to, right? Because again, if you speak to like very wealthy investors, right, on your sales calls, or if you get an offer where you speak to business owners that are very logical, like traders or like data analysts, very logical, and you try to go, so how does it make you feel? They're gonna fucking laugh at you. They're like, why the fuck are you asking me this question? So what do you guys do? Tell me how much this costs. Get to the point, right? That's typically what happens when you're asking a question uncalibrated. And here's the thing. It's not really your fault, because you just seen these questions, but you know, like these videos on Instagram or these other people, they never told you how this fits into your specific situation, right? Like everybody's talking in terms of cookie cutter, right? It's like, oh, you know, it's always this, it's always that. Yeah, sometimes not. You know what I mean? So whenever we have a member in a program that's selling to like logical data analysts or like software business owners, then we're gonna use more logical language to still get the job done in terms of building more desire, building more pain and urgency, right? If they're talking to, let's say they're on a fitness offer, talking to, you know, women in their 40s, yeah, that how does it make you feel question absolutely makes sense. You see the difference here? So yeah, it's just, you gotta understand context. And so, if you want help, if you want to skip, because on YouTube, like there's only so much I can fucking go over, right? I cannot look at your sales calls. I cannot look at your intro loom videos when you're applying high-ticket sales roles. I cannot look at how much like you're fucking up on or what you're doing right? I cannot hold you to the highest possible standard, right? We always talk about you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, but still, people don't get into environments where the standards are so high that it makes them uncomfortable. So if you're in an environment right now where the standards are not to the point where you're still comfortable, you're complacent, how are you gonna get to your fucking goal, man? How are you gonna get to your fucking goal in a reasonable time frame before we get any older? Before the people that we love getting older, like our parents, our women, our friends, whatever. So if you're not a pain in the ass, if you're an in-person sales rep, wanting to get into high-ticket sales, or if you're in high-ticket sales right now, you want to increase your commissions so you can become a better provider for your family, have a better life, then you can apply to real sales system. That link will be probably in the description box. I'm on my phone, so I don't know if I'm able to drop it here. But yeah, it'll be the link in the description box below. And then you can fill out the application, and then you can see if it's for you. How do I drop anything in the chat, yo? A asks, why did you leave 7th level? Well, according to some people, they beat me in sales so bad that I cried, then I quit 7th level. Yeah, there's some people making up lies about me. It's not just one person, by the way. That person was not the first person that made up lies about why I left 7th level. I can name drop 2 other people that made up lies about why I left 7th level. I'll dropping a video probably in the next week or 2. Yeah, I booked a call tomorrow, 10 p.m. AEST. Hope to see you there. Yeah, sounds Gucci, man. Yeah. So that Dean has booked this consultation call. Y'all can also fill out the application. If you're a pain in the ass, or if you need me to like handhold you every step along the way, do not apply. This year, I want less headaches. You know, I want less headaches. So if you're a pain in the ass to work with, if you're a victim, crybaby princess, or if you just don't have the intelligence, I'm not the guy for you. You can go find someone else. So, alrighty. Yeah, that's funny. I tried to. I reached out to that person, by the way. I reached out to the person that made up a lie about me on why I left 7th level, and then that person still refused to take full responsibility. Isn't that interesting? So here's the thing. I have no intention of creating drama. I'm a peaceful person. I'm as peaceful as these waves right here, right? I like to mind my own fucking business just because I don't like most sales trainers in the space, because most sales trainers are narcissists and deep down they're insecure, but they're just trying to feed their own ego. Like, I know this, right? And most sales trainers are pathological liars that make up lies all the time. Okay? They say they made this much in commissions. No, you didn't, bro. No, you didn't, bro. You made them from managing teams. You made them from consulting. No, you didn't, bro. You and I both know this, right? Not all, obviously. There's like few good people, but most people are just like, I want no part of. Is like borderline disgusting, right? I can name drop 3 well-known sales trainers right now that cheated on their wife or their girlfriend. Like, I could, but I'm not, right? So, yeah, I'm not here to play victim, right? I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that just to like boost my own ego, make myself feel better. I'm just saying, because people ask me, I'm just not a fan of just being around most of these people. There's some good people out there, don't get me wrong, for sure. But these days, I'm just like, I just mind my own business. I don't even have Instagram on my phone these days, right? I just delete it from my phone because I just don't want the drama. I just want to mind my own fucking business. I have people that I love in my life. I just want to have amazing life experiences with the people that I care about and that I love, and just get out. Like, if I could not be on social media, like, I would not be on social media. The only reason why I'm on social media is just because of my work, right? If it's not for, like, I would not even probably have even an Instagram account, maybe. But it is what it is. So A asks, would you recommend working for Jeremy? I heard that he's crazy good, so I was probably looking into working with 7th, but there are a lot of opinions. Yeah, I mean, there's only so much I can talk about in this video, right? There's only so much I can talk about in this video. I respect Jeremy at a professional standpoint, for sure. From a professional, you know, a lot of people that love 7th level, they try to talk a lot of shit about Jeremy, which I don't think is really fair. I don't think is right. Because, yeah, you learn shit from Jeremy. Like, why are you lying that you never learned from Jeremy? Yeah, you did. In some capacity, you definitely did. Either from his course videos, either from his coaching sessions, or you learned from somebody that learned from Jeremy, right? If you look at my videos, even my course material, I give credit to where credit is due. If I learned something from somebody, I say, yeah, I learned this from Jeremy, I learned this from Matt, I learned this from this book, whatever, right? Sometimes I forget, right? Or sometimes I don't mention it because it's like a bit repetitive. But sometimes that does bite me in the ass, I'll say, right? I'll say, I learned this from this person and they take it too far and they say, they make up lies about me. I'm telling you, this space is fucking crazy, man. This sales training space is fucking crazy. Anyways, that's a whole different topic. But yeah, people, I don't think they just give enough credit to Jeremy. You know? Jeremy and I are not on good terms in terms of personal. Yeah. We're not on good terms personally, but professionally, I still have respect for him. What he's done in his career is fucking incredible. You know, people say like different things about, you know, different things. I won't go into too much into that, but still, either way, if you were to say that Jeremy's not good, like some people say like Jeremy Miner's not good at sales, or like some sales trainers, they learn from Jeremy and then they'll go on a podcast and say, oh, Jeremy Miner's not good at sales, da 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 da. I'm like, dude, you learn from Jeremy. So, you know what I mean? So it is truly unfortunate. It is truly unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? But you can do what you want to do. At that company, working at that company, there's only so much I can say. From what I'm hearing, it is not what it used to be, is what I'm hearing. But you never know. You may fucking love it there. You may get a lot of things out there. So I can't say you should or you should not. If you want to find out, you should go do it, right? That's a big life motto of mine. If I, you know what? I wonder what it's like. What if? I'm just like, let's go do it. You know, in Dubai, as an example, I thought one day, I was like, hey, what would it be like to live in Dubai? I wonder. And I thought, what if I hate it? And I thought, what if I love it? So what do? Well, I just did it. I just booked a ticket right away, and then I got here, and I was like, yeah, makes sense for me. And the thing is, some people hate Dubai for whatever reason. And so if I just listen to them, I would not have the experiences that I have, right? The same thing what we tell to our prospects. They're like, oh, what if this doesn't work? Yeah, what if it does? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, what I'll say is, whether it be which company you sell for, or should I get into high-ticket sales? Should I do this program? Should I go move to the city? Whatever. Just there's no amount of contemplating that'll give us the answer right away, as much as, guess what? Yeah, actually doing the thing. Like, you're a smart person. We're all in sales. We all understand this, right? It's the same shit we tell to our prospects on a daily basis. It's just that I get it. Sometimes it's hard to take our own advice. But if you can use this opportunity to reflect on that, then yeah, I mean, the longer you contemplate on it, it's like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? That's another thing. I fell into that too, by the way, to be fair. I thought I've done enough personal development at this point, that I was way past that, but it just happens at different levels, right? So yeah, like tail end of last year, like there's some decisions I had to make, and I was like, what if this, that? I was like calculating all these different minutiae. I'm just like, I just gotta keep walking. I just gotta, start walking, because we won't know all the steps that we need to take when we're just in the starting line. The only way we know is like taking the first step, and the next steps present themselves. But the next steps will not present themselves if we're just on the starting line, just jacking off and pondering what if. That's another big lesson I got from 2025. A says, makes sense, thank you. Yeah, not a problem. Batman Hood says, are you a native speaker? If not, how did you improve your accent? I am not a native speaker. My first language is Korean. That's my mother tongue. And English is my second language. How did I improve my accent? So I get this question quite a bit because, yeah, a lot of people think I'm like Korean American or Korean Canadian or whatever, maybe. Some people just think I'm like straight up, American, but I'm not. How I learned it is first through a lot of shadowing and repetition. So meaning that on TV, there would be, what's those shows, like Nickelodeon or like Friends, the sitcom Friends? That was on. So what I would do is I would just say out loud, right? Ross, the character, he would say something, So if Ross goes, Rachel, we were on a break, then I would go like, Rachel, we were on a break. Like, I would say that. Like, everything they say, I would just like, da 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 da. I would just like mimic it. So I did end up living in America for maybe 2-3 years. But before even I went to Americas, I was able to fluently, at least like 70% because of that. And so that's a big one. Also, I got a tutor, right? It's like, for every key aspect of my life, I had a mentor in some capacity. And so in English as well, I had an English tutor. We sat down pretty much like every day. We sat down every day. And the teacher would say, hey, okay, read this. I was like, okay, da 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 da, I'll read this. Even after the teacher leaves, I'll just keep practicing. So that's another key thing too, is doing the work outside of the work. If we look at some of the greatest athletes, right, of all time, like if you look at someone like Kobe, if you look at someone like Habib, these guys, Steph Curry, they didn't just show up to practice and after the practice, they're like, okay, I'm going home. They practice before practice and they practice after practice. If they had a game, they practice after practice, right? But they didn't just practice nonsense, like random shit, like very specific things. Like Steph Curry, okay, my three-pointer, I gotta tuck my elbow in. Then they would review game tape, right? Look back at the game tape. Okay, that's where I fucked up. Okay, that's working well. I'm gonna keep doing that. Also, they have shooting coaches, right? Habib, his father was mainly his coach, right? For like wrestling, he had a coach. For people like Kobe and Steph, they had a shooting coach, because there's just certain things, even if you're at the top of the game, there's certain things you just don't catch because you are your first person, right? So we have blind spots because we are our first person. But a third person, especially if there's subject matter expertise, they can point out those things. Dude, your elbow's like too far out, you gotta do this. I was like, oh fuck, you're right. You know what I mean? And then and then disgusting, and then I'll tell too. disgusting amount of repetition, also a lot of sacrifices. When I was trying to get better at speaking English, I did not speak my mother tongue for like 1 to 2 years straight. So even with my mom, I would just speak English, right? And so some people will say that, oh, that's rude, you shouldn't do that with your mom, you should just speak your native tongue. I just wanted to get better at speaking English, right? So I took it to the extreme. And then there are also other Korean kids that were at my school, right? So first time I went to America, I went to school, middle school and high school at upstate New York, right? Not New York City, but upstate New York. It's literally right underneath the border of Canada. It's practically southern Canada. There's like 3 stoplights. That's it. Like small town. And there's a few Korean kids as well that came from Korea to America. By the time they went back to America, or they went back home to Korea, they still couldn't speak barely jack shit of English. By the time I went back home, I was fluent. So what's the difference? Is that these Korean kids, they stuck within themselves. So they only hung out with other Korean kids. So, and they only spoke Korean. With their parents, they spoke Korean. And so they didn't speak enough English. What I did was, with my mom, I would speak English. I would only talk to the white kids at school. So even if I'm like embarrassing myself, like I have like a funny accent or I can't think of the word I want to say, still it would force me to keep speaking English. And over time, in the beginning, I'm like stumbling, I'm like falling and scraping my knees. But over time, I'm getting better at it. Because why? I forced myself in an environment where it is more difficult for me to not succeed. So I always say, people talk about motivation and discipline, like you gotta have discipline. Yeah, absolutely have discipline. Motivation doesn't hurt either. But what I say is environment trumps discipline. Environment trumps motivation. Environment trumps everything. I'm telling you. Environment is everything. So the best way to learn English is go in a foreign country where they speak English and only speak fucking English, right? And if you want to get better at sales, or go in an environment where it's the best place to fucking get better at sales. Right? It's like more difficult. It's going to be uncomfortable. When I was in that environment where I was only forced to speak English, I was embarrassed. I was like, oh man, I want to speak Korean. Fuck. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it made me progress so much fucking quicker. Same thing in sales as well. So ideally, you want to go into an environment where it makes you uncomfortable, but it almost basically forces you to get better at sales quicker than anybody else. So that's why in our program, Real Sales System, we try to mimic that environment as much as possible. Whenever we do role play feedback sessions, right? Let's say a member wants to do a role play, wants to get some feedback on a specific part. Sometimes they go through the role play and they get stuck on what they should say. Oh, I don't know what to say, Brian, what should I do? I tell them, hey, no timeout on these role play feedback sessions. No timeouts allowed. The reason why I do that is because on a real sales call, there's no fucking timeouts. There's no timeouts. And they can't not turn to the side like, hey, Brian, what should I say? I'm not gonna be there, right? I'd like to be there for you, but I can't, right? And you don't wanna be there for me forever. You gotta be self-sufficient. And so, yes, I'm here to be a mentor. I'm here to help guide you through it, but force yourself to pull something out of your ass at least. Because on a sales call, you'll have to, even if you don't know what to say, you'll have to pull something out of your ass. I'm not telling you to lie, obviously, but you know, if you don't know the next question to say, you'll have to pull something out of your ass and improvise at least. Otherwise, there's no timeouts on a real life sales call. So whenever you do role plays, or whenever you do like want to get feedback from your mentor, whatever it may be, don't do timeouts. Like just, unless there's a very tangible, specific reason. But like even then, like just go. Is what I'll say. It's June here. Classic. What do you mean by that? When you don't know what to say. What's the schedule like, especially that you're working with EST time zone, which is a 8 difference? What's my schedule like? These days I try to work earlier. When I was full-time selling, I would start at like maybe 3 or 4 p.m. I would go until like midnight or 1 a.m. Sometimes longer if I'm trying to squeeze out an extra deal. But these days I try to work a bit earlier. I'm getting old in my old age. Gentlemen, I'm getting old in my old age. So I have grandpa sleep time. These days, you know what? crazy to say, I eat dinner at like 6, 7 p.m., right? And I try to be in bed by like 11 p.m., midnight at the latest. Yeah. It's like, Father Time is undefeated, my friends. Father Time is undefeated. But also, I don't know. I like going to bed early, especially because these days I do boxing, right? And we talked about environment, right? Create an environment where it is harder for you to fail. And so, because I'm in boxing, my boxing coach from Uzbekistan kicked my ass. I did training today and yesterday. Uzbekistan, by the way, #1 in amateur boxing, right? So these guys are hardcore. So I'm thinking, man, if I stay up later in my boxing session tomorrow, it's gonna be fucking exhausting. I'm gonna get my ass kicked. So it forces me to sleep earlier. It forces me to eat better. So that's what I'm saying. Like, create an environment where these things happen as a natural byproduct to reach your goals. So how can you create that, right? Okay, let's see. What are some good other questions?